trolls targeting moms who are in desperate search of formula. Joining me now is Latham Thomas. She's a doula and the founder of Mama Glow, which is a website for everything that healthy moms need. Her client list includes some pretty big-time stars: Alicia Keys, Anne Hathaway, DJ Khaled, Gabrielle Union, and Venus Williams. Okay, Latham, how bad is this troll problem? I couldn't believe it when I heard it, but they're always out there, aren't they?
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that during a time like this where we're in crisis, that people are not only having to deal with how to access food for their babies, but also the judgment around feeding choices.
So who are they? Are they mostly men who don't understand lactation issues and breastfeeding, or are they other women who are holier than thou, suggesting, how could you feed that to your child? Like, who's the bulk of the trolls?
I think it's a combination of individuals. And I think I think how it starts is really someone shares something very personal. This thing is happening to me, and then pile-ons happen. And we see this throughout social media, but I definitely think that some of the places where we see it most are Twitter and Facebook, unfortunately. And a lot of time people are just hoping for safe haven, a place where they can just share or find common ground. And then they're met with people who have really staunch opinions and views. Our role as doulas is to be non-judgmental in our support and make sure that people have access to the resources that they need, regardless of what choices they make.
Well, that makes perfect sense. I'm going to put up one of those aforementioned tweets that you were talking about, just so that our audience knows what these stressed out brand new moms who can't find food for their little babies are also having to contend with. So here we go. This is someone who said, "I keep seeing men say, quote, just breastfeed to women," speaking about all the real baby formula shortage. So let me just say this, men, please stop. Don't expose how little you understand about this. You just look like a dope. Stop. So enlighten people, Latham, as to why a mom might choose formula over breastfeeding, even though we all know breastfeeding is best.
Yeah, I think there's multiple reasons. Some of them also are health related. Some people have real health concerns. We know some folks who've had double mastectomies, and it's not possible to breastfeed. But there's also social challenges. 1 in 4 women go back to work 10 days after having a baby in the United States. And so a lot of people can't even establish breastfeeding. There's social concerns like family members or lack of social support and stress. And then, things like, separation at birth. There's a lot of things that impact feeding supply. And so even folks who really try, and even if they have resources, sometimes it doesn't work out for them. And there are so many factors that lead up to that. And so I think when people just judge outright, they don't know what someone may be going through. A lot of people very much want to breastfeed their babies and cannot. And there are people who also that's their choice. And regardless of whether someone believes it should be one way, it's really anyone's choice to feed their baby in the way that they desire. I think the goal really is to make sure babies are well fed, right? And I think we can all agree on that.
So I had that issue, the well-fed problem. My first baby, no problem. I breastfed him, and that was fine. My second baby wanted more, and I just didn't have enough. And this little baby was crying and hungry all the time until my mom finally said, "Snap out of it, give him some extra formula." It's called supplementing. So a lot of moms might be in that boat as well, absolutely through no fault of their own or choice or laziness or anything. In fact, let me tackle some of these topics that have come in some of the communications that that have surfaced. This one tackles the topic of bonding. Ashleigh A. writes, "I had a friend ask me if I was having trouble bonding with my son because, quote, you're feeding him that stuff." Can you address that?
Yeah, I think this is really unfortunate because what we understand about bonding is that touch is really important, right? Connection, eye contact, skin-to-skin contact. A lot of people, by the way, who have premature babies aren't able to feed their babies. Some are very much able to pump breast milk and feed their babies that way, but many people rely on formula to feed their babies, especially in the NICU. And the way that they bond is through touch, right? The way that they bond is picking them up, putting them skin to skin. That's how we create oxytocin flow, and that actually generates bonding. And so the idea that only through milk alone is how you get that is really absurd to say to someone. It is one of the ways that we can also transfer incredible hormones and protection, as well as nutrients to our babies. But there's other ways that we do this, and it's through social supports. It's having a safety net of family members. It's having a mom who's not stressed out, a mom who feels well supported and is going through recovery with a system around her. And it's it's making sure that a baby is held and gets its attention, and is and that the people who are caring for that baby are responding to its needs.
Okay, so here's another one, the health debate. This one comes from Brandy B. Brandy writes, my cousin-in-law could not breastfeed at all. She was out at a restaurant feeding her son formula when a lady walked up with a Coke can and said, here, you might as well give him this. My cousin bawled her eyes out. The public shaming is real. Do you have any advice for a mom out there who might find herself in a predicament like this?
I'm first of all having a hard time believing that people are walking up to strangers and doing this. This is actually like appalling. I mean, the most that we should be doing is making sure that, moms feel supported, that they're encouraged. I would say that, not all formulas are equal, right? And so it's certainly not like giving your child Coca-Cola, but not all formulas are equal, which is why so many people source formula outside of the United States and in Europe because of the safety standards. And in the United States, we have different standards for formula here. There are some new innovative mom founded companies. One that I really love called Bobby, that is founded by moms who wanted very much to breastfeed, all needed to supplement, or in some cases needed to go straight to formula, and figured out how to design a formula that met safety and efficacy standards, and that also was really nutrient dense to support the needs of modern families. So there are different formulas out there. I think it's important to find the one that works for you, your baby, and your family. And I think it's really important also to know that, the important thing is to make sure that your child is getting nutrients, your child is getting fed, right? I think people don't really understand that like infants need to eat constantly. And so this crisis that we're in really impacts people in ways that we cannot understand. Imagine not being able to eat.
Yeah, no, it's big. You really do have to get inside the shoes of these moms, just, every 4 hours to 6 hours needing to fill that bottle again. Last one real quick, laziness. This is from Christina M. She says, she writes, you didn't even try. This was said by a nurse after I spent an entire night crying my eyes out and feeling like a failure because I couldn't get my newborn to latch. Latching is a big deal, isn't it?
It is. And what I would say is laziness is not a factor, right? There's so much involved in breastfeeding. I nursed my son till he was 3 years old. And yes, there was effort, but I remember going to Old Navy one day and seeing a mom in one of the clothing aisles set up her formula to create a bottle for her baby in the middle of a shopping store, right? In the middle of a store, she was doing this. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how much effort, right, that it takes to find a place to do this. And it had me sit with a different type of empathy, right, for people who had to do this on the go. It takes a tremendous amount of effort to wake up. Breast milk comes out, it's the right temperature already. When you have to get up in the middle of the night, you have to get the right, the bottle has to be at the right temperature. You got to do a lot to feed a baby. So there's not laziness involved. It is not about laziness. Most of the time it's about factors in our lives that make it really challenging. And when we say breast is best, we don't really think about what it means for people to actually breastfeed, right? We're not talking about just the milk itself. We're also talking about all of the social factors that impact how we can actually breastfeed. There's so many impediments to breastfeeding in this country. So we need to make it safer for everybody.
I wish I had met you a decade and a half ago, Latham Thomas. You and I would have been best friends, let me tell you. You have the best information. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.